And welcome to the Draft Indy podcast. I'm Grant Sinning. Tonight I am joined by Alex, Brian, and James, and Garrett will be stopping by in just a little bit. So tonight is our final podcast before the draft. So let me explain what's going to happen for the draft. At the end of each day, we're going to do a quick podcast. It'll be one of those that we're going to do live, and then we'll put it on iTunes and we'll put it on YouTube and do all the fun stuff with it that we normally do. But we will be breaking them down afterwards. So in the morning when you go to work or whatever, stay at home and be a college kid, then you can listen to us ramble about the pick, good or bad. If it's bad, it'll probably be more entertaining. If it's good, we'll all just be happy and circle jerking the whole time, I'm guessing.
The
So
one time I'm not rooting for chaos.
yeah, the Colts pick, you don't want chaos. The Colts pick, you want something good, like Shaq
I want
Lawson or
I want
something.
picks 1 through 17, 19 through 31 to have chaos, but not 18.
I want like 4, 5 quarterbacks drafted before 18. Actually, my dream scenario right now is, and I know this isn't really part of our agenda tonight. My dream scenario is that Goff and Wentz are gone, and then pick 18 comes around, and everyone's afraid of the Bills taking Paxton Lynch. So someone's like, "Yo, we'll give you a second round pick. We'll move
Yes.
up 4 spots and give you a second round pick." That would be awesome. Or even a 2017 second round pick. Like,
Yeah.
hook me up. Like, I don't know. That's just like
Right
what I've
now.
been thinking, because there's a lot of players in this draft that I like in day two. Like the other day, I know it's just an experiment, in a stupid, the mock draft, mock first pick and fan speak and all that. Those are just fun. But I did one. I traded down out of the first and second round, and like I know got a whole bunch of picks for it, right? But like every pick I took, I was like, I would be okay with this person in the third round. I'd be okay with this person in the fourth round. And there's a lot of those guys, so team trade down, totally in effect for me. Um, and earlier this year, I was saying, well, hey, we need to actually go up and try and move up to get first round talent, elite talent. But you know what? As it got into the draft more, you realize, hey, this is such a deep draft. There's a lot of good guys. Let's try and work on that. And then another scenario that's entirely possible is there's not a single wide receiver taken in the first 17 picks,
hmm
and someone's like, someone trade with me, someone wants to jump in front of the Bengals, or someone wants to jump in someone, and pick up
Yeah.
someone like a Josh Dotson or something like that.
Yeah, well, the Texans are at 22, Vikings are at 23, Bengals are at 24. And I know a lot of drafts even have that being like back-to-back-to-back wide receivers.
Yeah.
So if a team like the Lions decides to not go at 16, then yeah, that could actually be a real possibility.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
with
those
trade
are,
ups, there's any number of people it could be. Last year, people were going to trade up for Philip Dorsett. The Chargers did trade up for Melvin Gordon. There's quarterback trade ups. There's every position you can imagine. Someone just needs to value somebody high enough that
hmm
they'll trade up. So that's the dream scenario.
so um, yeah, so it's we're in such an interesting spot, because we could move back 4 or 5 spots and say our guy's still there, Ryan Kelly, Whitehair, maybe even Noah Spence. I mean, honestly, a lot of stuff coming out lately is Noah Spence is a second round pick. I've seen it in a lot of places from people that are in the know, and sometimes that counts more than your film evaluation sometimes. But most likely what's going to happen is we're going to get to our pick. No, Spence is going to be on the board, and he's not going to be picked. That's just the reality I've come to accept, and that's okay. As long as it's not like Emmanuel Ogba at like pick 18 or something like that. Ogba's not a bad player, I guess, but not in the first round and not at 18.
Kevin Dodd.
Yeah, and Kevin Dodd again, not an awful player, just not at 18. And he's slow. He's actually pretty slow. Wait for a 34. So let's get into the meat of tonight. We're gonna do our final position rankings. and this might take a good amount of time, and we can debate and we can do all that kind of stuff. But I had everyone pick five, their top five for each position, which ends up, and we didn't do quarterback, tackle, or we didn't do quarterback, tight end, or wide receiver. We're not probably going to get the top five of either of those groups. Maybe tight end. I could see tight end being a fourth-round pick, honestly, or something like that. I still like O.J. Howard next year, but that's just me. But we'll have to see. I like Jack Doyle quite a bit as the number 2, so I'm not too worried about it. So let's just kind of jump into it. So do you guys want to start on defense or offense?
We'll start with running back.
We'll start with running back. Okay. Let's round table it. I'll go my 5, and we'll just pass it around, and then we'll talk about it. Is that cool?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think it's the way to do it. I hope everyone has the same number 1, Ezekiel Elliott. I think we can just kind of consider that a good one. And then for me, CJ, is it Priscus or Proasis, whatever? CJ from Notre Dame, Devontae Booker, Kenneth Dixon, and Derrick Henry. Those are my top 5 running backs. Alex?
Zeke 1, Derrick Henry 2, Devontae Booker 3, CJ Prosise 4, and shout out to Garrett, Jonathan Williams 5.
Jonathan Garrett 5. Okay, Brian?
Almost the same as yours, Grant. Zeke 1, I have Booker 2, and then Prosise 3, Dixon 4, and then not too high in Derrick Henry at this point. He's number 5.
James?
And for me, just a heads up, on some of these positions, I've only watched 5 guys. So,
the
linebackers, I've got a 6th round maybe linebacker as my 5th guy, because that's the 5th guy I've watched.
That's how I am with safety. That's all right.
Yeah. So running back, I've got Ezekiel. Then I've got Kenneth Dixon. I really like him. Then I've got Jonathan Williams and Keith Marshall, and then Tyler Urban. So I've only watched 6 running backs, and Henry is going to be terrible on our team. I don't even.
Oh.
he might be a good player, but I'm talking specifically for the Colts. He's a bad fit. So.
Okay.
I mean, I'm low on Henry as it is, just because, I get what he does after he gets to the second level, but he really takes a while to get to the line of scrimmage. It takes him a while to get, by the time he hands it off to when he finally breaks the play and he gets the line of scrimmage. I just feel like it really takes him a while, and I don't care how built he is and how strong he is. That's going to be a problem for him.
For sure.
Alex, you have a number 2.
Yeah, it's really close between 2 through 4 for me. I defend him just because nobody knows what to do with him, because nobody's ever seen anything like him. The dude is one of the fastest running backs in this class and is one of the strongest running backs in this class in 6'3". So what I have questions with is his acceleration and his lateral agility, which in the right scheme I think can be somewhat minimalized. So he's, out of any of these running backs, I'd argue he's the most scheme dependent on his NFL success. But if you get him in the right scheme, I mean, he could be terrifying. So that's my reasoning.
He's a freight train. North-south, watch out.
Yeah.
Garrett's analogy of a bishop, not so much. He'd be like the slowest bishop. He'd be a bishop that could only move 2 spots as opposed to as many as he wanted, honestly.
He'd be like a Bishop Sankey.
Yeah, good. Hey, I like it. That's good. Except Bishop Sankey's just awful all around. Good job, Titans.
Hey,
on
that's
that
my
one.
local guy. Don't trash Bishop Sankey. I watched him play in high school.
That's cool. That's cool. There's a local guy in the draft who I have in one of my top groups, and we'll get to that in a few minutes.
I'm just kidding. He's bad.
And he's on the Titans, so trash him all you want. So common names. and those top Elliott, for everyone, Procise, Booker, Dixon, Jonathan Williams would have been my number 6. And honestly, I could probably make a case that I like him more than Dixon or Henry. But that's just. I think there's a lot of those guys after Elliott. Like a lot of those guys are really close.
Yeah, I have
a
a quick point I want to
Yeah.
make. I think Zeke, Booker, Procise, Williams all fit with the Colts. Henry, I think, is going to be a problem. And then Kenneth Dixon, I also kind of worry about because I'm not sure if I don't know if we talked about him on a podcast, but like laterally, he's really, he's probably the best moving laterally, maybe besides Zeke. Just like the ability to run east and west, but he just doesn't, when the hole's there, he doesn't go north and south enough. He'll just keep running east and west, trying to, go all the way to the sideline, and he just doesn't have that ability, or not. He just doesn't want to. I think, take on actual hits. You guys get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And
when you're running zone, and he's keeps running, when is he eventually gonna, kick back up through the middle?
Yeah, that was. I had questions on him, and again, I put him as my number 4 guy. But if you need a change of pace back, and he's the best change of pace back in this class, I don't want him getting 30 touches a game. I want him getting 10.
Yeah, 10.
And he can
8
maximize 10 in the right role.
Exactly.
Or 5 carries and 5 receptions.
Right.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah.
I like Dixon, but I don't really like anybody in this running back class besides Zeke, to be honest. And the one guy that I do like that I'm a fan of is Tyler Irvin, and he's basically Kenneth Dixon if he was a wide receiver that's playing running back.
Yeah.
He's a good returner, and he's got that ability. You can give him 10 touches a game and just manufacture something for him in the passing game, and he can contribute. But I don't think there's any running backs that I feel good investing in.
Yeah. I'm really not. I don't want the Colts to take a running back until at least round 3. I don't want any of these guys in round 2.
And realistically, what is the Kenneth Dixon role worth in terms of draft capital? I'm not comfortable spending the day 2 pick on Kenneth Dixon in any role, let alone as just a complimentary piece.
Yeah, I mean,
I've got a 4th round value on him.
You could sign Boom Heron off the street, and he'd give you pretty much the same.
Like Ahmad Bradshaw, and you get the same for 2 games, but I'd still like that better than spending a third-round pick.
You get a much more entertaining 2 games too.
Yeah.
Ahmad Bradshaw's a beast. All right, moving on. Let's keep on the offensive train. I'm gonna mark this off so I know we talked about it, just so I don't forget. Tackle. We'll go backwards order. James, tackle.
I wrote IDFK.
Okay. Brian, tackle.
All right. Tunsil 1, Stanley 2, still a top 10 player to me. Spriggs 3 because of his athletic upside. Decker 4, Conklin 5.
All right. Alex.
Not much different, but I have Tunsil 1, Decker 2, Stanley 3, Spriggs 4, and then Conklin 5.
I have Tunsil, Decker, Stanley, Spriggs, Conklin. So, Alex, we're the exact same.
Yeah.
And honestly, that is probably a general consensus. Now, Stanley, Spriggs, I still like Stanley. Now,
I still really like Stanley.
Stanley is in the best pass protector. He's not as good. Okay, after Tunsil, Stanley's the best pass protector. Decker gives you a more all-around package because he can run block and he's mean.
I don't know. My concern with Stanley is just for being this left tackle that you could develop and who is really good pass protector, he is just not a refined athlete. He lacks balance. I don't like his coordination that much. And then you look at him, and the best edge he played all year was Shaq Lawson, and that was one of his worst games. So
it was a very bad game for him.
No, yeah, he definitely struggled against Lawson, and I'm not gonna shy away.
And I value those games against NFL competition a lot.
The Decker or Conklin Buckner game kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you that Stanley struggled against Lawson, and that he really did struggle with power, but just against speed, I just think his maybe not a refined athlete, but I still feel like when he plays against speed, he's still very, very good, very, very well. I think his north-south movement when he's run blocking is better than Tunsil's is, and I would still say, Grant, you said he's the best pass blocker after Tunsil. I would say he's the best pass blocker in the class.
Garrett, do you have a tackle top 5?
Or we missed Garrett's running backs.
Oh, great. Oh,
Running
yeah.
back guy.
Yeah, we just
Yeah.
missed on the running back takes.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, welcome to the podcast, Garrett. How are you doing?
Oh, thanks. Great to be on,
Welcome,
guys.
Okay,
yeah.
quick, give us your top 5 running backs, and then move to your
Okay.
top 5 tackles.
Number 1. Oh, great. Tackles. I'll just make that up. Okay. Zeke, and then Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry, by the way, is very unique as an athlete and a player, and I think we should all acknowledge this instead of trying to compare him to LeGarrette Blount or Brandon Jacobs or whoever, because it just doesn't work. There's never really been anybody like him, so I don't pretend to know exactly how good he's going to be. One way or another, he's special. I think he's the number 2 back in his class. After that, I'm going to put Jonathan Williams from Arkansas. He's my draft my draft crush in this class. After that, I'm going to go number 4, Lasco from California. And after 5, I will put Kenneth Dixon. A lot of people like him, but I'm maybe a little bit lower than others just because I like Lasco and Williams more. Tackles, I'm going to go Tunsil because that's what everyone else says. After that, I'm going to go Stanley because that's the one you guys were just talking about. And after that, I'm going to go Taylor Decker because I think he's supposed to be a first-rounder. Then after that, Jack Conklin, my man, number 4. And then after that, I'm going to go Cody Whitehair because from what I understand, he's like a god, so he can do anything. Even be
He's
a tackle.
more of a guard in the NFL, but
Oh,
your answer is a little
I thought
better.
it was god. Never mind.
Isn't that what he said?
your
He said he's a god.
Yeah.
your answer is better than Jay's because Jay's top 5 tackles were I don't give.
No. It was, I don't.
No.
No.
I don't give a. Okay.
Yeah, there you
Oh,
go.
that would have been good. That would have been fun.
This is a-
too. I should have
this
done
is
that one.
This is a family podcast. Family podcast again. So back to our discussion. So Tunsil. Honestly, when I look at my top 5, I only see 2 left tackles. I see Tunsil and Spriggs as the only left tackles. Taylor Decker is a right tackle to me. Stanley, maybe. But I think he'd be a mainstay on the right side. And Conklin, honestly, a right tackle or I don't know. There's so many things that I have issues with Conklin, but like you see the upside. Like when we talked about last week, what can a player do? I've seen things Conklin can do, but I watch a lot of O-line and there's a lot of stuff he does that's not good. But there are stuff that he does very well. So I have him there at 5. If I didn't have Conklin there at number 5, it would be it'd be Gerald Hawkins out of LSU. Kind of a draft not really a crush of mine, but if we took him in the 3rd round as opposed to Decker in the 1st, that's cool. So
Yeah, I don't have an actual ranking, but I do like Decker. I'll own up to that. He's pretty good, and he'd be a good right tackle. Like I really do feel confident that he'd come in, and of all the tackles, he's the only one that I don't think I'd have a problem with them drafting. Besides Tunsil, that's not going to happen. But
I guess
the value is just not there for me round 1, so I don't really care.
I guess my guy out of this class is Spriggs, and I know I talked about it just because I guess athletic offensive linemen is something that like those are my type of linemen that I like, athletic, and he's pretty much is Lane Johnson. I guess Lane Johnson was a little more refined, but like athletic wise, Jason Spriggs is like pretty much the same athlete Lane Johnson was. We've all seen how that turns out, and so I think Spriggs has a high. If Spriggs figures everything out and he gets really, really good coaching and he gets a little stronger, he has the 2nd highest ceiling in his class, right behind Tunsil, and I think he could be a top 10 left tackle. But she struggles with strength, and he kind of just runs around sometimes and doesn't know what he's doing just because he's athletic.
that's fair. And honestly, I used to watch a lot of IU when I lived in Indiana, but now that I don't really catch them a lot.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's not really something one of the things I noticed when I was watching Howard and when I was watching Spriggs, that quarterback, like honestly, sorry you guys who are listening to us who are IU fans, like that's
Sudfeld.
awful. Sudfeld
Yeah.
is straight poop.
I saw that when
He's
watching Howard.
Yeah, he's just bad. They
Oh,
do have
really?
a good wide receiver who I'm interested to see come out next year because I think he's ready, but I don't know his name. But I think he was number 3. But anyways, Alex, did you have something to say?
Yeah, really quickly before we go on, just pointing this out, I'm glad this is not a year that we really need a tackle because after those first 4 guys, the next highest tackle on my board is like a 4th-round player in Conklin. And then you have a bunch of developmental guys and then some guys who could be good backups. It's an awful tackle class after those first 4 guys.
What are your thoughts on Gerald Hawkins?
I think he's more of a guard, and he is really slow. So
Yeah, his combine is not good.
he plays like it too. So if maybe he could be a 4th, 5th round pick. I don't see it. I'm not a fan.
I get you, and I could totally see he's one of those guys where, not all tackles move to guard, and not all guards, whatever, that's something that we could talk about. But
Yeah.
he's slow enough and doesn't have the good enough footwork to play.
I just don't think he can play anywhere else but inside.
Yeah, I get you.
I think it's funny. Me and Alex are the same way because we'll give someone like a 3rd or 4th round grade and just not at all want them on our team.
Yeah.
Like,
Moving on, guard, and I'll start this one. White hair, Joshua Garnett, Westerman, Trey Tola, and Landon Turner. Alex.
Sorry, my rankings went away. Okay. Depends if we're going Colts or just NFL for my top spot, but in a vacuum, I've got Garnett, Whitehair, Trey Tola, Turner, and then Westerman.
Okay. Brian.
Watch some white hair. He's pretty good. A lot of people tell me Garnett's really good, and that's it.
Okay, that's fair.
I know all the guys like Landon Turner, like all the Tortolas you guys were mentioning. I'd be fine with them early day 3, but right now the white hair round 1 I'm fine. Garnett round 2 I'm fine, but I think that's pretty much it with guard. I'm still valuing center more.
Brian, or not Brian. Garrett.
I'm just gonna say the same as yours, except I'm gonna switch. I'm gonna put Garnett in that top spot because I think he's a little underrated in terms of how he moves. A lot of people kind of think of him as, maybe I'm making this up, but I feel like he's perceived as kind of a mauler, and I think that's a little underselling the way he can get across the line, and also just I think he's like one of the best, mentally one of the best linemen in this class. Plus he's really funny and cute, so I want him on my team.
I agree on all points, but I think you're right. People are underselling his. They're categorizing him as a mauler, when in fact he's actually quite quick. He's had some pretty good pulling type stuff, which in the power run that the Air Coryell kind of uses, there will be some pulling guards and some stuff like that. So and his ability to move into the second level will be good for what I think we're moving into. Jay, did you watch guards?
I did, man. I'm good on guards. I'm okay with interior.
All right.
Don't be coming at me with top 5 tackles. I've got Garnett. Like, I think Garnett's awesome. Like, I think he'd be a first-round pick. If they picked him in the first, I wouldn't hate it. Like, I wouldn't throw something, just because he's so good. Then I got Cody Whitehair, Isaac Suomalo. I don't know how to pronounce it, but that guy from Oregon State, he's good. Christian Westerman, and then Landon Turner. I watched him at the end just because his name's Landon, which was enough reason for me to at least watch, and he's pretty good.
Damn it, Jay.
I'm cool with him. Shout out Landon James.
Yeah, shout out. Okay, so common themes: white hair, Garnett in the top. I think we talked about Trey Tola pretty early in this process. I'm still kind of a fan. His combine wasn't the greatest, but I still think that he has a very high potential in his own scheme. Landon Turner's an interesting guy. I've watched a couple of tapes of him enough to like him a lot. I think he's pretty good. But if I remember right, his combine wasn't the greatest. But then again, he's interior, so again, 40-yard dash for a 40-yard lineman. If an offensive lineman's running 40 yards, then something has gone terribly wrong.
Or terribly right.
Or terribly right. They're running to go pick up the guy and give him a big hug or something. I don't know. So Whitehair, I had said earlier in the process, and I'll admit to it, I didn't like him earlier in the process. More tape, more time studying him, he is fantastic. He's very, very good. If he's the pick at 18, that's cool with me. It's not the best value, whatever, but plug him in right guard. We don't have to look at Thornton anymore. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I like Whitehair. I've come around on him a lot. I don't know. I'm not good at predicting scheme change or position changes, so I can't look at left tackle and be like, oh yeah, he'd be a great center, because I have no idea what he looks like snapping the ball. But if they thought that he could be a good center, then I think that's a good pick at 18, and I'd be happy with it.
Yeah,
I like him as a lineman in general. I don't really want to take a first-round guard, but I like him as a lineman in general. So if they think he can play center, which I value more than guard in round 1, then I think do that.
All right, moving on to center. Let's mix it up a bit. I'm going to start in the middle, and then we'll go a direction of my choosing.
Do we all see the same orientation of our faces at the bottom of the screen? I'm just curious.
For me, it's actually in alphabetical order. Alex, Brian, Garrett, James.
Oh, Alex,
okay.
Garrett, Grant, James, me.
Yeah, because you're always on the
Yeah,
right.
we're always on the far right
Yeah.
side. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, see, there you go. All right, Garrett, centers.
Okay, so I'm going to say definitely the Alabama kid,
Kelly.
as we will call him. Yeah, Kelly. Because I'm mostly just bumping him up to the top spot because of his crazy combine, which I'm sure you guys will also talk about. After that, I'm going to go Nick. I actually have watched some centers, so this is cool. I'm going to go Nick Martin with from Notre Dame. He's not quite as athletic as Kelly was, but I think he probably had the second or third best combine of guys in this class. And both of these guys they're not just athletes; they're good centers too. You guys can probably talk more about why than I can. Third, this is where it gets tricky for me. I like Austin Blythe from, I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, from Iowa, but I'm concerned about his strength and how well that's going to translate to the NFL. Kind of the same concern we had with Caleb Holmes. I think he's a smart center, though. After that, again, I'm gonna pronounce it Twerk from USC.
I was like, who are you talking about?
Twerk.
Max Twerk.
Twerk.
Yeah, there you go. I like
So
it.
besides the elite name I've mentioned before, Twerk is very long. He's like 6'5", which is very much an outlier for a center. But that length is a good thing, especially in pass pro. And after that, oh man, I'm gonna just throw out a name here.
Kyle Friend.
There you
Sure. Oh yeah, everyone's favorite 7th round pick, Kyle Friend.
Mm-hmm. 7th round pick that's gonna end up going round 4.
go. Everyone's favorite 7th round pick.
Yeah.
He's gonna be dope.
Kyle Friend is like that person that in every fan speak mock draft, people just take in the 7th round just because they know him, and he's gonna end up going early day 3.
That was the same thing 2 years ago when I first started doing those mocks on there, and they had Cody Latimer until a week before the draft as a 6th round pick. So every draft, no matter what, I was like, okay, Latimer's 6th round though, because
nobody else knows about him.
no.
Yeah.
It is interesting how guys get their turn, for hype.
And the thing that kills me is that Cody Latimer goes in the 2nd round, and Peyton Manning just literally hated the guy or something. I have no idea what happened there, but he never saw the field.
Was he injured ever?
Not really. Supposedly he's got terrible work ethic.
Oh.
I've read that from Denver guys. He has awful work ethic.
Yeah. yeah, I mean, I don't know. I liked his tape. He seemed like he had high potential, but with zero work ethic. I don't know. That's beside the fact. He's a Bronco who's probably going to be cut after this year. I'm picking our next person to go, and it is James.
Okay. So I got Ryan Kelly, Bama kid. He good. I got Nick Martin from Notre Dame. He good. I've got Evan Boehm. He's from Missouri.
Yep.
He pretty good. I got a little worried. You read the stuff from PFF that he gave up a ton of pressures. I liked him all the games I watched. He did give up some pressures sometimes with the speed guys, but I thought he was pretty good, and I thought he could anchor pretty well. And then I've got Jack Allen. He's a Michigan State. He's a showdy, but he's good. And everybody's best Kyle Friend from Temple.
Kyle Friend from Temple. Isn't it weird that I feel like there's so many prospects from Temple that everyone's talking about this year. There's the defensive tackle, the cornerback, the inside linebacker, Kyle Friend, and there's like a wide receiver too. I don't know.
He's got a super white man strength. I think he put up 40 at the combine.
Was it? Yeah, it was 44, wasn't it?
Gosh.
Or was it someone else?
No, he put up at least 40, but I don't remember what the exact number was.
No, someone I think put up 44 at their pro day. Wasn't that what it was?
Yeah, I think that's what we did.
That was Oh shit! Who was that?
Kyle Friend.
No, there was someone.
It was at his pro day. I'm pretty sure.
I thought there was someone else that put up like more than 40. But
I will go next. Ryan Kelly, Nick Martin, Isaac Sumalo. Shout out to Alex for pointing him out to me. I'm a big fan.
From Oregon
Jack.
State?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I had him as a guard. If he could play center, him too. Then
he can play both. I think he'd be good. I almost put him in both of my top fives because I think he can do both just fine. Jack Allen of Michigan State and Evan Boehm. I like Evan Boehm as well. That was a Lance Zierlein very early watch. I was like, hey, he said center's deep class. Said, who should I watch? And he gave me Boehm, and I've been a big fan ever since. And then the other guy, there's another Missouri guy. What's the other Missouri guy's name? Hold on, real quick. I've been saving this.
Oh my God, Kyle.
Speaking of Kyle Friend,
New challenger approaching.
Kyle Rodriguez. Welcome to the podcast. We were just talking about our center.
Oh my God,
top
this
five.
is lit.
How you doing tonight? Are you there?
Kyle.
Kyle.
exactly
Kyle.
as good as I thought it was going to be.
Kyle.
Kyle.
Right there. All right.
Okay, well, on the subject of these centers, it's important to note that we've all got these 5 guys, and these 5 guys are going to be all over the draft, and they're all going to be good, probably. At least good enough that they could be probably starting for the Colts and be better than Holmes and Harrison, which is good.
Yes. Okay, hold on. Kyle cannot hear us, so he's working on it.
So he's using his Battlefield 4 mic.
Kyle, are you there yet? I think he can hear us. He's working on it. We'll skip him for now.
He just appeared and started looking really grumpy. I don't know. It was making me really nervous.
And Kyle Friend was not a combine invite, but he put up 41 bench press reps at the pro day.
That's just grit right there.
It's a lot of grit.
There's so much grit there.
He's still talking. He can't talk.
We can't hear you, Kyle. I'm sorry.
Kick him back out. Kick him out.
Well, no. If I kick him, he can't join back. He's got to leave and come back. And I'm gonna type that here in a second. Yeah, he's gone. He'll come back. Hopefully, we can get Kyle back on here because it's always fun stuff.
This was a cameo appearance.
Yeah, just a quick. Hey, I'm on your podcast now. I'm leaving.
Isn't that Kyle Rodriguez?
And then now, Alex, let's get to yours.
Kelly, Martin, Swimalo, Turk, and then Jack Allen. And so I have some, like, Swallow, or whatever his name is a lot closer to Nick Martin than I think a lot of people give him credit for. I'm a little skeptical of Nick Martin, because he's not the strongest guy. He's undersized, and he was a lot more athletic before he got hurt. He had a knee injury, and that's, I think, taken away from some of his athleticism. So I'm a bit skeptical, but I'd still like him in the 3rd round.
Yes, Kyle, you're back. Can you hear us this time? No.
Oh my God, we can't hear him.
I think he can hear us.
He can.
So
We can't hear
but
him.
we can't hear him.
Check if your mic's plugged in. Are you sure it's plugged in?
He doesn't
Sign
know.
language. Sign
Does he
language.
know? Yeah, who knows sign language?
Sign language. Kyle, do you like Ryan Kelly? Do you like Nick Martin?
You like them.
Who's higher on the handsome rating? Kelly or Martin? I think that's
Say one or two.
Okay, what can we do about this?
I don't know. I don't know what we can do about this. Let's move on. We've talked about centers for far too long.
Brian doesn't get a say. That's cool.
Wait, oh yeah, you didn't. That's my bad, Brian. Go for it.
Kelly 1. I like Jack Allen as 2. Nick Martin 3. And then those are the only ones I've watched. And I'm pretty much cool, I think, with like the overall consensus narrative of every other center. Evan Boehm, or whatever, Max Turk. Another guy to look out for that I thought had some hype preseason but hasn't done anything, and maybe there's a reason why, is Mike Matthews from Texas A&M. If there's an offensive lineman with the last name Matthews, I'm willing to bet on it. So
I'm not. I don't like it, but that's just me. But I understand what you're talking about. Pedigree is always something to take into consideration, honestly. But let's move on to the defense. I think we're ready for some defense takes. I'm going to ask Kyle one more time. Kyle, can you hear us? I don't think he can. I think he can hear us, but he can't say anything. Kyle, why don't you try restarting your computer real quick and try and rejoin? Well, all right, there he goes. Love to have Kyle on with us.
Always good to have Kyle on.
Yeah, it's always good to have Kyle on. So
Doesn't
let's
interrupt
move on.
anybody.
Yeah. Let's move on to edge. Let's do edge first. That's next on my list, anyways. And let's go backwards. Brian.
Edge. Okay. Oh, let me pull up my rankings. Bosa 1, because I still count him as an edge. Shaq 2. Noah Spence 3. Correa from Boise State 4. Kevin Dodd 5.
Okay.
Not
Alex.
Colts specific, just overall.
Right.
Bosa 1, Lawson 2, Spence 3, Floyd 4, and Ogba 5.
Oh, okay. Garrett.
Bosa, then I'm also going to take Lawson over Spence, who's 3rd. Then after that, my heart wants to say Floyd, but my body says Jenkins. And then after that, my heart still wants to say Floyd, but my body also says Ogba.
Oh. Not who I wanted to hear.
Jay.
Okay, I got Joey Bosa. Everybody's got him first. Noah Spence, Shaq Lawson, the big 3. Then I've got Jordan Jenkins, and then I've got Kyler Fackrell.
There you go.
Utah State. That's my boy.
Okay.
I'm dying on that hill. He's going to be good, or I'm going to shave my mustache.
And you put him in every round 3 mock you've ever done. So.
Man, if you give me in round 3 every time, I'm taking it.
I'll go with Bosa, Lawson, Spence. And again, I've talked major crap about Floyd this whole time. But I'm going to put him at number 4A, and then I'm going to put Jenkins at 4B, because I'm just not sure. And then Calhoun. I think one of those, Brian, you always said you got an inkling feeling about white hair in the first. I've had this suspicion about Calhoun in the second for quite a long time. Yep. Kyle?
Hello.
Yay! Welcome to the podcast tonight. Sorry about that. So what we've been doing tonight is going over our top 5 for each position group. We were finished with the offense, and we were talking about edge. So you're last. So give us your top 5 edge, and we'll talk about it.
All right. Hold on. I gotta find my lists.
That's a good piece, by the way. I read it.
He's got to pretend like he knows what prospects are.
Yeah, exactly. I have to get past 18.
CBS Sports Rankings.
Let me pull up Draft Scout here real quick.
We all know Kyle's a Walter football kind of guy.
Ugh, God.
Don't do
I'm
that,
never
don't do
coming back
that.
on here after this, Brian.
Way to go, Brian. You ruined it for everyone.
All right, we're talking edge.
We're talking edge.
right now.
All right. Top five. I like Bosa over Buckner. Um, and then I like Lawson,
mean,
Spence, and
Buckner's
Floyd.
edge.
I think he could. So I kind of classify him as edge or interior. For Indianapolis, he'd probably be interior.
I agree. Now, who was your last two? I'm sorry.
Spence and I like Floyd. I like Floyd just because of that, especially for Indianapolis, because he's so athletic and because they're so desperate for edge talent. I know he is completely boom bust, and that's but to me, when you're talking about potential, like if I'm talking edge, I'm talking pass rush potential. That's my number one thing without question. And so for me, that's him. He's got the potential, and so he slides into that fifth spot.
Yeah, I think I had him as my 4A to Jenkins 4B, and I have to agree with you. You know, that athleticism, if he gets some time to develop a little bit more, he's got some nasty pass rush moves. So already.
I'm way lower on Leonard Floyd. I know this is maybe my thing from I don't like small pass rushers. I guess that's my whole thing. I think I just like Jenkins and Calhoun better. It's not that I dislike Floyd. I mean, second round, I would still be. I mean, I wouldn't mind him second round. I just don't like him as much as these other guys, and I just don't know what NFL teams think of him because I don't know what anyone else thinks of him, like where he's going to play. Like I said, I'm really scared that he's going to lose all that. He's just going to lose all the weight that he bulked up for at Georgia. That really, really scares me, and I think it's most likely to happen. And when he loses that, like Grant, you said, his pass rush moves, how many of those are actually going to work when he's at a lower weight? So I'm really, really scared by Leonard Floyd. I'm a lot lower on him than most people.
And that's honestly, that's fair. That's the bust potential when you talk about the boom. You know, there's the upside with his athleticism, but on the downside is he is a tweener. He is 220 to 240 pounds. You know, listed. You know, where's he going to play in the middle of the season? Don't really know. Is he going to be able to use any sort of power? He's not a power guy now, but you know, is he going to, if he gets engaged with a 315-pound left tackle in the NFL, what's going to happen?
One thing that I saw was one of his pass rush moves. He kind of just he jumped into the block, he kind of just threw himself into the blocker and just used his explosiveness to get by. And I'm saying the NFL, that dude's gonna he's gonna catch you at your pads and just throw you back. And I don't want to be every pass rush moves that he does at college level isn't gonna work because obviously some of them have to translate over, and the NFL doesn't have that many tackles that are much better than some of the college ones. Just I don't know. There's a lot to him that scares me.
Yeah. No, and again, that's totally fair, but, you know, just looking at everyone's list real quick, you know, similarities. Bosa's everyone's number one. I don't think that's kind of disputed. Lawson and Spence was the number 2 and number 3 for just about everybody. We've gone on and on about those guys pretty much the whole time, so there's not a lot of time to spend there.
They were our first two guys that we compared.
Yeah, they were.
Pretty sure.
So odd names on the list. The Boise State guy, Correa. Whose was that? Was that you?
Mine. I love Correa.
Tell me about Correa real quick.
I didn't really keep any notes while watching. It was just consistent. I was just going off my eyes, but he just consistently was the fastest guy off Boise State's line, every play. When I'm watching pass rushers, even if it's interior or not, as soon as the ball's snapped, I always pause the play a half second right after, see who's the fastest off the line and see just by how much, and by a good margin he was the fastest guy on Boise State's line. And that could be Boise State has other slow players, but even just in relative to any other prospect, he was very fast. I thought he had really good leverage. I can't remember how tall exactly he was. He looked a little bit on the shorter end, but I think he had really leverage, and his power was something that shocked me for his size. I think he's in the 240s. I think but like that's what he's always been playing at. He didn't really have to bulk up when he was at the combine to play in that. I just really liked his tape. I thought it was excellent.
Hey man, that's fair. Ogba, who had Ogba? Alex and
Garrett.
Garrett. Tell me, who wants to talk about Ogba real quick?
I'll start. He's weird because his tape and his combine were the most completely separated of any player, I think, in this class. Because on tape, he is kind of slow. He's a power rusher who's going to give you good effort, but is going to win with a bull rush, and I'm not sure if he translates to a speed rusher in the NFL. Then he goes to the combine and is the most athletic player in the position. So, what do you make of that? I think you can hope that the floor is what you saw on tape, and this scheme is probably maybe a good 5-tech, maybe a good rush end who plays the run well and wins with power, but is probably never going to be a 10-sack guy. And then but his potential, if you think he can actually use that athleticism, which he didn't show on tape, then you've got a guy who could be like ridiculous. So is that worth the 3rd-round pick or a 2nd-round pick? I think so.
Okay, that's fair. Garrett?
Yeah, pretty much exactly. There are 2 guys in this class who I would draft just purely on athleticism because they are actually that ridiculous. One of them is Ogba, and the other is Keith Marshall, the running back from Georgia, who has been injured across his career, never became a starter there. Of course, there were other great players at the position during that time. And both of them are so far outliers for their position athletically that I think is like once you get past that 2nd round, if you get a shot at someone with that kind of potential, you have to take it regardless of what you see on film because the possible rewards are so much greater than what anyone else available then can give you.
Fair. Let's move on. We are flying through these, not really, but it's all good.
I'm going to talk about my boy Fackrell.
We talked about Fackrell a lot.
Well,
Okay.
we talked about him on the pod. He wasn't here, right?
That's right.
That's what I said. I think he's more of an off-ball guy. We talked about him a lot, but James wasn't here.
Yeah, we
did. His
did.
name has Kyle R in it.
It's
Scouting report over.
That means nothing.
His name is Kyler, guys. Kyler.
That means nothing.
No, dude.
Hey, you haven't seen me on the edge, Brian.
Have we?
No, Fackrell's good. Almost a force player, possibly.
Almost, yeah.
Really long. Basically everything that happens with Floyd, but I think he's got better pass rush moves than Floyd. And I think he's a more natural 240 pounds, not I ate a bunch of iron before the combine so I could weigh a little bit more.
Hey,
I just like him for his coverage. If he can cover, that'd be dope.
Cool.
So we can move on now. That's all I wanted to say.
So we just did edge. We want to move to D-line. Sure. We're moving to D-line. Okay. My D-line, top 5. I'm going to start. Buckner. DeForest Buckner. I watched him last year a lot with Armstead. Nothing really changed my opinion of him. He's a beast. He's a monster. He's huge, and he's mean. Sheldon Rankins, number 2. Andrew Billings, Chris Jones, and then Kenny Clark. Those are my top 5. Kyle, give us your top 5.
Let's see. I've got Buckner. If we're doing interior, I've got him top. Then I've got Rankins as well. Billings, and then I have Jaron Reed really high. I really like Jaron Reed. And then I still have to finish kind of filling out that 5th spot. I've got a few guys that are really close, but right now I have Vernon Butler.
Okay. James?
Mine, I love defensive line in this class, man. Let's just talk about how great they are.
This line is absolutely insane.
Could have. Sorry, Ryan Riddle. I don't think that this is a bad class at all. Like we could all have different 5, and realistically, they could all be the 5 best players in this class. So I've got Rankins number 1, Sheldon Rankins. I really like him on the inside. I really like Buckner too. He's really good. And then I've got Chris Jones, number 3. He's really grown on me and Alex for sure. As a pick at 18, we're cool with that. Well, really cool with that. Then
nice.
I've got Andrew Billings and Vernon Butler as well.
Garrett.
Yeah, I'm going to be the only guy without Billings in his top 5. I'm putting Rankins as my number 1. I absolutely love him. I call him Shankins, Sheldon Rankins, Shankins. 2, I'm also going to get Buckner up there. I think we haven't really talked about him very much on this podcast before that I can recall, but apparently we're all very high on him. And 3rd, I'm also going to put Chris Jones. He's a guy we all love, I think. 4th, I'm going to put Butler. He's kind of my defensive draft crush. I love the way he plays. He's not a great athlete, but he does have very good physical traits. I might talk more about that later. And after that, I'm actually going to put Javon Hargrave over Billings. Yeah.
Nice.
I know I was introduced him kind of late. I know. Shut up, Brian.
Hey, that's interesting. I think he made Norris's top 30.
Ooh.
Maybe his top 20. I can't remember. Brian, top 5.
Oh boy. All right. Billings 1.
Oh, okay.
All right. Wait. All right. Kenny Clark 2. Buckner, Chris Jones, and then Sheldon Rankins.
Okay.
You were always lower on the bandwagon.
Do I have to? I like Rankins. I'm good with him.
I
But
appreciate it.
you definitely convinced me. But I mean, I've been riding this Billings train for I don't know how long. I think he's like a Marcel Darius type. I think sometimes he lacks to get a lot of leverage, but that was only on a couple plays, and his upper body strength was just enough to compensate for that. I think Billings is probably one of my favorite players in this entire class. I just recently watched Kenny Clark, and the strength, just the pure strength of Kenny Clark just absolutely blew me away. And I like Buckner. I really like Buckner, especially when I saw him go one-on-one. I liked his game versus Jack Conklin. But, I mean, I know we've talked about this. That Oregon defense, what they're doing is just ridiculous because they asked Buckner to take on double and triple teams probably half his snaps. It's so tough to grade his film when they're rushing 3 and dropping 8, 50, 60% of the time, and Buckner's not really doing anything or getting any help. And when he got help and when he had just to go one-on-one against a tackler or guard, he was dominant. But there was only so much that I could see. But, I mean, the nose tackles, Billings and Clark, those are my guys right now.
See DeForest Buckner versus Jack Conklin for...
Yeah, no, I watched that, yeah.
I know, no, I'm saying if our listeners are curious,
Oh.
see Buckner versus Conklin, and you'll see a butt whooping. Alex, top 5.
Buckner at 1, Rankins 2, my guy, Chris Jones at 3, Vernon Butler at 4, and then we have a 3-way tie between Andrew Billings, Jerron Reed, and Kenny Clark because they're all really good nose tackles who are going to make some teams really happy in the second round.
Okay. Now let me go. So I'm taking notes when you guys are giving me these things because I want to follow up on some stuff. First of all, to talk about Garrett's point, why haven't we talked about DeForest Buckner a lot on this podcast? He is one of those guys, to me, who is so far out of our reach that even talking about him makes me sad because I can't have him. Kind of like Ezekiel Elliott, when we did our running back podcast a few podcasts ago, same thing. We spent a little time on him, but he's so far out of our range, it just makes me sad to talk about him. But that's my opinion there. Now, I'm going to shoot it out to Kyle, and he had Jaron Reed, what, number 2?
3.
Okay, tell me about Jaron Reed. Now, real quick, do you see a pass rush element to his game, or do you see just a dominant run stuffer?
Well, I don't think there's a pass rushing element to his game yet. I think he could develop a bull rush, and I think that's where the upside is really enticing to me, especially in that the back half of the very back end of the first round. The top of the second round, I think you guys will be tempted to take him there just because he's as good of a run stuffer as you're going to get. And then you've got potential with pass rush, I think, as a bull rush in the inside. I know he played a little bit one-up over tackles throughout the year, but I would probably just stick him inside and just have him just collapsing pockets as much as possible. In terms of the run game, yeah, he's gonna beat a single block. That's just he's not gonna get moved on a single block. And so he's a little bit, I don't know, I think he's a little too quick and like sneakily quick to double team him unless you're just committing to it right off the snap. So I really like Jaron Reed. I really like him. I think, like I said, enticing, especially if you're just looking for a nose tackle, but somebody who also can kind of move around if you want him to.
That's fair.
Yeah, I think he could definitely play 5-tech, and the thing I think there's something to be said for Reed with one thing that he's good at.
Yeah.
I like Kenny Clark too, but with Kenny Clark, you're looking at it as he's not as good of a run stopper, but he probably, if you just look at him, he probably has he's a little closer to a potential ceiling of as a pass rusher. But you're looking at two things that are potential, whereas with Reed, you're not looking at as good of a potential pass rusher right now, but you know for sure you're getting a much better run stuffer, which I like. I like them both a lot. They're both really good and right outside of my top 5.
I'll agree with that.
And notable absences for people listening: Kimdichie and Ashawn Robinson. I'm not going to get into it.
Probably 'cause
Time's
they're
sake.
bad.
I disagree on Kimdichie.
I have him 6th.
You have Kimdichie 6?
Yeah, he was right below Rankins for me.
Me too. Same, but
I
underneath.
have him 13, but if he's 1, that's not surprising me at all. I just really like a lot of people in this class.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of good defensive linemen there. For sake of time, I'm cutting the defensive line conversation to an end. Let's move to inside linebackers. Let's go backwards. Alex, start us off.
Linebacker, and this is without being able to tell their health situations because we don't know. We have no idea. Miles Jack 1, Jalen Smith 2, Reggie Ragland 3, Darren Lee 4, and then it's a tie between Joshua Perry and Deion Jones.
I'm not even gonna go because you just said my exact order. Brian, go ahead.
Same exact thing, except I'm currently torn on Jalen's. Well, not torn. I have Jack 1, but Jalen Smith like right below, just because what teams may be asking Miles Jack to do if he's going to be a true. I don't want to put this whole like true linebacker, but I think if you're going to be putting him in coverage so much and you need if you need a Mike linebacker, I think Jalen Smith is the better Mike linebacker, while Miles Jack may just be the better overall player. That's kind of where I'm torn. But same exact thing. But I really, really like Jalen Smith, and every day having to read about him just like tears my heart because he was just so freaking good, and he's the best, just like pure linebacker. If you want to go like the old school linebacker, I think he's just the best one. Miles Jack is more athletic, he can cover better, but Jalen Smith, don't sleep on him if he's healthy.
I mean, for me, like if health wasn't an issue, Miles Jack is probably my number 2 player in the draft, with Jalen Smith being 2B. Like they're probably right there, right next to each other if health wasn't an issue. Garrett.
My top 5, I think, was basically Alex's top 5. Jack, Ragland, Joe. I don't have Jalen in my top 5 because of health. I'm pretty sure Jack is healthier than him, although I don't know for sure. Yeah, Jack, Ragland, Jones, Lee, and then Perry. I would say I think I'm a little bit lower on all of these guys, just generally, than you guys are. I'm not super high on this linebacker class.
I'm low on Darren Lee.
I am also low on Lee. I
think he's a second rounder.
Really, after the top couple guys, I think there's a pretty significant drop-off. I'm not a huge fan of Lee. I think he's someone that you add to a linebacker unit that already has maybe 1 or 2 dependable guys to make it maybe something elite, but he's not the kind of guy you would want to start a unit. You wouldn't want to build around him. I don't think he has that kind of skill set.
That's fair. That's fair. James.
Okay. I don't have Jalen ranked. I didn't even watch him I've watched highlights and stuff. I didn't watch him just because I don't think he can even play this year, so I didn't worry. I've got Miles Jack, then I got Reggie Ragland, and then I've got Joshua Perry third ahead of Lee. I like him better than Darren Lee. And then I liked Antonio Morrison. Anthony Morrison. I think it's Antonio.
It's Antonio.
Morrison. Florida kid.
Oh, nice.
Florida kid. He's good.
I would have had him in my top 5, except that pro day. It was just.
It's sad. Kyle.
I've got Jack, and then I've got Jalen, and then I've got Darren Lee. I'm going to bat for Darren Lee because I love linebackers that can cover, and I love linebackers that take good angles to the ball carrier. And I mean, to me, that's what you get in Darren Lee. And obviously, the strength leaves something to be desired, and inconsistent tackling is a big question mark. And he's a guy where if the tackling doesn't improve in the NFL, or not even improve, but if it declines at all with a higher level of competition, I mean you're going to be looking at a bust, and that's risky. But to me, I'd rather take a guy like Lee who has the potential to be even just talking Colts, the potential to be Jarrell Freeman instead of Ragland, the guy who's going to be DeQuell Jackson. I'm taking Lee, and then I think my last guy was not Deion Jones. I think it was Perry.
Joshua Perry.
Yeah.
I like that Kyle's asked, "What do you like in a linebacker?" and he says, "A safety."
Yeah, but I do. That's pretty much it. I just don't like watching linebackers who take bad angles to the ball. That's like my biggest pet peeve. That and just getting beat. In pass coverage. But the Colts, especially looking at again, I've been looking at it from a Colts perspective, and you're looking at a defensive line that has been built up enough that you need linebackers that can now kind of shift through the mess and get there, not necessarily linebackers that have to take on blocks all the time.
Let's ask Kyle about Ragland. What do you think about Ragland in the first at 18? We all pretty much decided in a recent podcast that he was probably our floor pick, like that we'd be happy with. Like if it's Ragland, that's probably the last guy that we'd be like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am too. And with him and Lee, like I said, they're really close for me. So either of them right there would be kind of the stopping point, I guess, for me when you're looking at defenders. I think either them or we talked about this off the air a little bit too, or an interior lineman are kind of like I'm not real excited, but if we're not going to take a defensive lineman or edge player or even a strong skill player defensively, I think that's kind of where I can get on board for that.
Okay, we agree.
Fair. Real quick, we talked about a lot of these guys except for Joshua Perry. Real quick, I'm talking 2 sentences. Someone give me a Josh Perry breakdown. Let's go with Alex because he's
Alex.
He's a better athlete than given credit for, and he's a really sound and technical player who takes good angles and isn't going to mess up, and he's a good blitzer.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Moving on. Safeties. Let's go reverse order again. I'll start. Jalen Ramsey is a safety to me, a very good one. If you wanted to play him at cornerback, I'm okay with it as well. He's just a good player. Darian Thompson, Carl Joseph, Justin Simmons, and my 5th one is Von Bell. Let's go with Alex.
Jalen Ramsey, Carl Joseph, Thompson, Keanu Neal, and Von Bell.
Garrett.
I actually I don't consider Ramsey a safety. So Thompson, Joseph, Simmons from Boston College, and actually I've gone back and forth on this, but Keanu Neal from Florida at 4. And those are the after that, really, I can't think of the guy. Sorry. So that's my top 4.
It's fair. Brian.
I also think Jalen Ramsey will be better off at corner than safety. The actually only safety I've really watched in depth is Carl Joseph. When I wrote about him, I really like him in round 2. Cool with Darian Thompson in round 2. Those are my top 2 guys. And then I really haven't watched any of these safeties. I know Keanu Neal. I don't know why he's rising all of a sudden. I thought like everyone agreed that he was like a day 3 player. All of a sudden, I see him in the first round. Von Bell, I heard, is like a great tackler, but he's not like slow. Like he's just a great tackler. Is that right, Alex?
Yeah, pretty much.
And then I don't know. There's a lot of slower guys. I know Jeremy Cash. He had some good games, but he's kind of just a linebacker. And I know Carl Joseph's teammate and fellow safety, KJ Dillon, has been getting a lot of hype too. And I think Brent said that the Colts met with TJ Green from Clemson, who was like really, really fast, I thought.
Mm-hmm. They did
So,
meet with it, yeah.
I don't know. I'm pretty much looking round 2 for a safety, and I want either Joseph or Thompson.
Fair. James.
Okay. Safeties, I've got Darian Thompson, Carl Joseph, and then this is a recent guy I just started watching because people have been talking about him. So, of course, now I'm following the trends. Kevin Byard, whatever.
Byard.
Middle Tennessee State's own Eric Walden University. He's good, man. He's pretty good, and he's got 19 interceptions, I think, in his career, something like that. He ran a 4.4 at his pro day. Like, I think he could be the small school free safety that's in the middle. Like, if you could get him day 3, that'd be a steal, I think. He could be.
Yeah,
I really liked him from the bit I watched.
He's had 4 pick sixes.
I didn't know.
All right, he's my number 5 now.
And then I've got Justin Simmons and Von Bell. They're good too. It's actually a pretty good safety class, which nobody's really talked about safety to the Colts that much, but it's a pretty good safety class.
Yeah, there's
We
a lot
really
of
should
guys,
be, though.
definitely.
There's good.
We really should be talking about that, though.
Yeah, it's
Safety
a need. I
Colts.
mean, it's a need. Mike Adams is their only safety that's proven to be
A
starter
safety.
quality.
I agree. Real quick, you mentioned Eric Walden, and since we got Kyle in here, and I don't know that we've ever talked about this on the podcast, and Ollie, who is a part of Draft Indy, has wrote one article, but can we just acknowledge the fact that probably the greatest Colts Twitter moment of all time is Eric Walden calling Ollie Dawes a crab cake lame-o.
Wait, what? When did this happen?
Wait, how did you not know?
Yeah, it's a couple years ago.
No idea this was a thing.
Oh,
He
it was
said
awesome.
he said something. He was just being
my
super sarcastic, and then Eric Walden says, "Who's this crab cake lame-o?" Just, I
I'm
don't know.
gonna find it.
I had
It's
no
so
idea
good.
that was a thing.
Other
It's-
great Colts Twitter moments: Darius Butler on John Oliver, making fun of Roger Goodell,
Yes.
Yep.
and also Robert Mathis saying he hates Darren Sproles' little shifty ass.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a
Okay.
strong contender.
Okay, Kyle, safeties.
I mean, Ramsey is my number 1 player in the draft. I don't care what you want to put him at, so I'll put him at both. But I love him. Huge drop off, obviously, after him. But then I got no, this doesn't look right. What am I missing? I have Joseph, but I'm trying to remember. Yeah, Joseph and then Thompson, and then Von Bell, and then Keanu Neal.
Cool. Real quick, one person I want to highlight. He was kind of on everyone's. He was on half of the lists. Keanu Neal, and again, just kind of like we did with Joshua Perry. Someone give me a quick Keanu Neal breakdown.
He hits
Sure.
things,
He's a better
Yes,
Clayton Geathers.
unless people run past him.
He's a better Clayton Geathers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
he
boy.
actually is.
Yeah, like decisively better.
Geathers is not. Geathers has all the same weaknesses and like much less of the strengths.
Yep.
Fair enough, and easily relatable to our listeners. Cornerbacks. Let's go backwards. I didn't go backwards last time, even though I said I was going to. Kyle, cornerbacks.
Jalen Ramsey again. I'll put him everywhere. Ah man, if he, I heard who was it? Some mock draft recently. And I think I heard them talking about it on the on Daniel Jeremiah's podcast. I think he had him dropping down to Jacksonville, and I cried.
Yes.
I legitimately cried
Yes.
in my car.
Awful.
Then I've got VH3. Love him. William Jackson, Mackenzie Alexander, and then see everybody hates on Apple, but I don't think I can drop him out of the top 5. I don't think, and no other corners really hit me as jumping him in that group.
That's fair. James.
So I put Ramsey as a cornerback, so that way I could have 5 cornerbacks. I've got Ramsey, then I've got Hargreaves. I'm a big Hargreaves fan. He's one of my favorite corners in a few years. I really like him. He's my type of corner, 100%. And then I've got Mackenzie Alexander. I think he's good. There's still questions, but he's a good player and he's got a high ceiling. Then I got William Jackson and Artie Burns. He's got a lot of potential if he could ever get his technique together. Not look like a sloppy guy out there running around. But he's got really good ball skills and super long arms, and you could work with those tools.
I really like him too. Him and Kendall Fuller are like neck and neck to me outside of that top 5. But there's a big gap between Mackenzie Alexander and else.
Yeah, there's a pretty big tier.
Yeah, there's kind of a drop off after the top 3 or 4. Garrett.
All right. Also got Ramsey, #1 player pretty much in the class, except maybe Zeke. He's a great player, great prospect by every possible conceivable criteria. After that, I'm actually going to put Mac Alexander as my #2 corner. I'm a huge stand for him. I love the way he moves. I think he was playing in totally the wrong defense in college, and I think he'll be very good in the NFL as a man corner. After that, I'm going to put Hargreaves. Also, everything everyone on here says about him is pretty much true. Then Jackson from Houston, and for 5, I'll also put Burns, but I'm kind of just putting him there as the avatar of all these, the 2 or 3 other athletic, long cornerbacks in the middle rounds of this class, like, for example, James Bradbury from Samford. Both him and Burns, I think, are 6 foot 6'1", with these really pass rusher long arms, which I absolutely love. So they got great range, and they both are very fast. Burns probably gets the edge over Bradbury because he has good ball skills, although Bradbury is very aggressive and physical, so I like him for that.
Cool. Alex.
Harlan Miller's probably in that group too, kind of middle round long guys.
Yeah. So my rankings are almost, I think actually they might be identical to Kyle's, because I've got, if you're putting Ramsey there, which I think you can definitely do, Ramsey at 1, Hargreaves at 2, Jackson 3, Alexander 4, who's, by the way, a perfect fit for this Colts defense, absolutely perfect.
Right.
And then 5 is Eli Apple, and then right below them I have Will Redmond, who I really like from Mississippi State, and then right below him is Kendall Fuller and Artie Burns neck and neck. So
I also like Fuller.
yeah.
Okay. For me, VH3, Alexander, William Jackson III, Eli Apple, and Artie Burns is my 5A, and Cyrus Jones is my 5B. I am a huge Cyrus Jones fan. I've grown on him even more, and more as the draft process has kind of gone on and on. So, for me, he's probably the best slot corner in the draft. And he's special teams guy right away too, so lots of value there from me on him. And again, for sake of time, thank you everyone for your cornerback rankings. Wait, Brian, did I skip you again?
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry, Brian.
He knows.
Brian, go for it.
I deserve it for 22 previous episodes of ruining this podcast. I like Jalen Ramsey. I still like his film as a corner better than as a safety. I don't know if I stand alone on that, but yeah, like Kyle, #1 overall player in the class, which took a lot to have him to put him above Zeke. Hargreaves, I'm with you, James. He's still my #1 target for the Colts at 18. I absolutely love his tenacity. William Jackson III, Mackenzie Alexander, a lot to like with him, like Garrett said. I still think he struggles with size, which is something that I think could be a problem for him in the NFL. And then that's all I've watched for cornerbacks, so I trust you guys with players like Artie Burns. I think Cyrus Jones is the kind of player that I would like, so I'll take your word on that too, Grant.
Cool. And
Hey,
sorry,
real
I mean,
quick,
And he's the kick
Can I-
returner.
yes.
can I ask
Go
a
for it.
question really quick? We can
Sure.
make this
Yes.
discussion very short. Thoughts on Xavier Howard from Baylor?
Garrett.
I was a big fan of him early in the process before everyone found out who he was because I thought, oh, he can be an above-average cornerback in the NFL. He's decently sized, decently athletic, but now he's getting like first-round talk, and I'm not about that.
No, that's
Yeah,
no.
Mm-mm. No, thank you.
Not
I
about
agree
that
there. Good. Hey, good question though, Kyle.
I've
so
been
we got-
out of draft Twitter, so I'm catching up here.
It's
Oh,
good. No,
good for
no.
you.
Hey, man. Good. And
Glad
thank
you're
you for
back.
coming on. I know it was just kind of a spur of the moment thing. But you came in, jumped right in, and got going. Two more things I want to get done, and this one we're not gonna have much debate on this one. This is just gonna be your top 5 picks at 18. Realistically, obviously we could say Ramsey, Tunsil, Miles Jack, right? But who you think maybe realistically could be there at 18? And we'll just do those top 5, and then we'll move on to the last thing for tonight because we've been going for a while now. I'm just going to start. For me, realistically, in a good world, there's two. My top 2 are kind of hopes, but they could realistically be there potentially. Shaq Lawson, VH3, Spence, Alexander, Ryan Kelly. Those are my top 5. Alex.
I don't think Shaq's going to be there, but if we want to include him, Shaq, Chris Jones, Noah Spence. Hold on, let me pull this up. Noah Spence. Then I'll go VH3 and Reggie Ragland.
Brian.
VH3 number 1 thinks he helps his team this most. 2, Lawson. 3, Spence. 4, Billings because that's my guy. 5, Ryan Kelly because he helps the offensive line the most right away.
Fair. Garrett.
So Spence, and then Chris Jones, and then I should reverse those two. Jones, Spence, Mac Alexander, and then can't read my own handwriting. And then number 5 is Ryan Kelly.
That was only 4 people.
I know I couldn't read my 4th one.
Oh.
I don't remember who.
That's fair.
Assume it was Kyler Fackrell.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
James.
James, you're going to eat those words in 9 days when that happens.
Oh man, he's awesome, dude. I'm loving it. And his wife's cool, man. We're friends on Twitter.
Oh my God.
So I've got Spence and Shaq, whichever one. Like I prefer Spence a little bit, but it's not a massive difference. Then Rankins, then Hargraves, and then Chris Jones. I love Chris Jones, man.
Cool. Kyle.
VH3, don't think he'll be there. Rankins, don't think he'll be there. Shaq, don't think he'll be there. Spence is like the beginning of the realistic picks. And then right after Spence, I have Elliott, so not really. So all my top 5 are people who won't be there. After Elliott, though, I'd have William Jackson. And then like I said, I'm so desperate for an edge, I'd take Leonard Floyd at 18. And then I have Alexander and Billings.
Fair. Hey, that's very good. Okay, so we did it in the very first podcast. And we're going to do it right now, the last podcast before the draft. It's time for Take It or Leave It.
Oh man.
All right. Oh, man, yeah, throwback, right? It's back. It's totally back, and I don't know why it went away.
Remember when that was going to be a weekly piece, and then
Yeah,
you
it
were
was.
terrible, and I had no desire to do it.
I mean, you went all out in that first one. You got all the hot takes out in like one article, so there was no point in going on. And that was before the team was just terrible too. So like all the hot takes, everyone was just talking about on Twitter. Yeah, they weren't hot takes anymore because it was the sad truth right in front of your eyes. Hot takes. Okay, so I'm pulling one that was sent in to me just a few minutes ago, not even asked for. This is a hot take coming from Walter Football, and Ryan Dark, I believe your name is, sent this to me. Here's the take. If Leonard Floyd is unavailable and they feel Noah Spence is too much of a risk, I'm hearing the Indianapolis Colts are considering Camelai Correa in round 1. Take it or leave it, Alex.
Leave it about as decisively as you can leave something.
Brian.
Jonah Tolles actually just tweeted that to me. I love Correa. Correa's one of my guys, but can't do it at 18. Can't do it.
Could you do it at 24?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay. Garrett, take it or leave it.
Take it as in, do I want it or do I believe that they would do it?
You
The
want
first, the sec- yeah. No. The second one. The second one. Would they do it? Hot take.
He's having flashbacks.
Warner flashbacks.
I believe
Warner wasn't nearly as much of a left field take as that would be.
I think it's conceivable that they could think that that would be an okay thing to do.
Okay. Jay.
I would leave it like I was Brian's babysitter at the mall.
Kyle.
I'm leaving it. I would take Calhoun or Jenkins much farther ahead than I would.
Fair. Second, take it or leave it. This one's coming for me, and then I'm going to ask if you guys got one. Take it or leave it. It was John Clayton, I believe, said the Colts leave round one without an offensive tackle, then Grigson gets an F in the whole draft. Take it or leave it. Kyle.
I'm leaving the take. I mean, if they take a tackle in the first round, I'm leaving that. So like, it's like flipped for me. But we've talked about that the whole way. Unless I mean, if I had to take a tackle that realistically there, maybe Decker, but I'm not a fan of the tackles at that spot.
James.
I'd leave him become a Seahawks fan.
Yeah.
Fair. Garrett.
No, they'll definitely give him an F if he doesn't do that. Like,
Okay.
will.
Brian. No, it's fair. It's fair.
Similar to James, but I'll switch to the Raiders.
Okay.
That's a good team, actually. Never mind.
Alex.
Now I'll get on the Browns. Why not?
yeah, RG.
I can give you a lot of reasons why not. If you want, we can do a whole
Hugh
other
Jackson.
podcast. Why not to?
Hugh Jackson. There you go. All right. Someone throw a take it or leave it out there.
All right, I'm gonna go. This defensive line class will be the most, like, of any position, any class ever. It will be the best. Like we talked about that 2014 wide receiver class. Like I think this defensive line class will be the best position of any class of all time.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. Let me digest that one for a second.
I currently have
Hot take.
12 guys ranked within the first 3 rounds, and that doesn't include guys that I haven't watched, like Hassan Ridgway, John Hargrave, Jahad Ward, Adolphus Washington. Like I think 20 guys could go by the end of round 4.
I like
That's
that it's
fair.
bold.
It's bold. And real quick, I gotta take a phone call, so I'm gonna let you guys pass this one around real quick. Okay, start with Kyle, and then go on from there. I'll be right back.
Kyle, take the wheel.
Best class ever is I haven't been doing the draft long enough to answer that question, but I think okay.
In your
I'm
lifetime.
not, let's put it this way. I don't think Ryan Riddle was totally off base. Hear me out. In that the class to me, if you exclude Bosa from defensive line, I think at the top of the class you don't necessarily have like the all-pro, like for sure all-pro to make it one of those best classes ever.
I agree. In fact, if you look at the class as a whole, you'll notice that there aren't really that many great athletes along that defensive line. There are some, but really not as many as you would expect, considering how high we are on a lot of these guys in their tape.
I'm going to leave it because, I mean, it's
a lot
I love
of
this
really
class.
good players.
Yeah, I love this class, but I mean, just a few years ago, you had 2011 edge rushers. You had J.J. Watt and Alden Smith and kid from Rams, Quinn,
And Von Miller.
and the guy from the Redskins, white guy from Purdue. Can't think of his name now for some reason.
The 2014 wide receiver
Jordan.
class. The 2014 wide receiver class had Odell Beckham. Is there an Odell Beckham of defensive line in this class? I don't know.
I'm not sure there's even a Sammy Watkins, which is the problem, or a Mike Evans, there's no top talent that can. It might be one of the deepest positional groups ever, but it doesn't have the top guys. Because if Rankins hits, if Buckner hits, and even if Nkadiche hits, after that, you're not going to get any All-Pros, I don't think, out of this class.
Okay,
That's fair. That's fair.
I think this class is absolutely just insane with talent.
I think I would go and say, again, like everyone else was saying, maybe the best depth class of all time, but top-heavy, not necessarily, no.
I've got to take.
Okay. Give us a start take.
We love this defensive line class, and the Colts aren't going to take a single defensive lineman.
Whoa.
That's going to be another one.
They took 2 last year. They've got the free agent room recently. They've invested a lot into that position already. If you look at the guys they've looked at on our draft interest page, the guys they've visited with, then none of them are really the guys that we are excited about. I don't think they're taking. I could see it happening. I don't think.
All right, I'm going to leave it just because of the 3-cone drill. If Gregson didn't have a hard-on for a fat guy running a 3-cone drill, I would maybe take it. But just because of that, because of Jay's piece, I'm gonna say they still take at least 1 D lineman because it's gonna be the best class of all time.
So you're leaving the take.
Yes.
You've left that take. Alex, take it or leave it.
Leaving it just because it's kind of a need, and it's a semi-need, and since we know Grigson loves going best player available, I think one of these times the defensive lineman can very well be the best player available.
Yeah.
Surely.
Fair.
Scorching cold take. I will be crying if they pass on every defensive line.
Okay. Kyle.
I didn't hear the question, but apparently it's something about taking a defensive lineman.
That they won't take one.
I think they'll take one.
Okay.
That's all
Garrett?
I got.
Congratulations, you're wrong.
Guess what, Garrett? I take that take.
Ooh.
I take the take, and I'll tell you guys why. Not only is Garrett absolutely correct about the draft interest page, shout out to Brent on that one, doing a great job on that, as always. I'm glad we could bring him over to us for that. And his other article he's got going on coming out Monday, which will help break down some of that draft interest page and some other things that he's done that he's been looking at and researching. And it'll be a very good piece. It's pretty long, but it's very in-depth, very informative. Be on the lookout for that on Monday. But
just a quick thing. I don't think they take one until day 3.
Okay.
By the way, edge players don't count. They might take an edge player. That's different. Right. That's an outside linebacker in our screen.
No.
Yeah.
No, I don't think they take one until day 3. Just like you said, because they have so much. They've looked at so many interior edge guys, and even like the cornerback, safety types. I don't think it's until day 3.
I would say if they are going to take one, you're right, day 3. But I don't see them taking a guy day 1, 2, or 3. Anyone else got a take?
I got one really quick.
All right, Alex, bring it on.
So I'm looking at this, and I've been charting the defense, and I've had to watch a lot of Mike Adams and a lot of Clayton Geathers. So I'm going to go and say that behind edge rushers, safety at both positions is the number 2 need on the Colts.
I'm taking that. I think safety is going to be the pick in the second round, and I really think it is important because I feel like this is the year Mike Adams falls off. I feel that Clayton Geathers will never be a full-time safety starter in the NFL for this, or at least for this team. I don't think it's going to happen. So I think safety is a huge need.
Yeah, I take it.
I take it. I've never been on the Geathers train, not really. And Adams is old and he just got hurt pretty bad. So
fair. James.
On the lone lever, just because I think center is still a bigger need.
Okay.
I think they view it as a bigger need too.
Looks like Kyle's leaving it.
I'm also leaving it because I hate all of our inside linebackers, and I at least kind of like Mike Adams and kind of like Clinton Geathers, and I hate all of our linebackers. So I'm still going linebacker.
To it.
Fair. James, give us one of
Okay.
your takes.
So first one, no matter what, they're coming away from this draft with a wide receiver. They've drafted a wide receiver every year but one. They've drafted multiple wide receivers before. They're drafting a wide receiver, even though nobody's mocking it and nobody's even thinking about wide receiver. It might even be like a round 3 kind of thing.
The thing is, we need one too. Like we have
do.
3 guys.
Okay.
That's it.
There's no depth.
I take it.
Waylon, buddy.
They're definitely taking one late.
Waylon's a Dolphin.
What?
Waylon got signed with the Dolphins.
Oh, cool.
All right, I'm enamored by Griff Whalen, and I was hoping he would be the guy. I fucking love Griff Whalen. Fuck.
We gotta watch
Family
Brian's
podcast.
Heartbreak live.
Sorry, we gotta censor this. Some people are very passionate about the Griffer.
There's a lot of grit there to be passionate about.
I could see them taking a wide receiver in the 5th or 7th round.
DeWalkio Wilson is happening.
No, it's gonna be, since they have all just like really like insane athletes. It's gonna be De'Runny
Carew.
Wilson, 7th round.
That's what I just said.
If it was
Is that
someone
what
like
you said? I didn't.
If
I
it
said
was someone like
DeWalkio.
Carew, if it was someone like Leonte Carew in the 3rd or 4th round, even that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, I agree. Sterling Shepard in the 3rd or something like that.
Sterling Shepard's not falling to the 3rd.
I know he's not,
Yeah.
but you can dream.
Sterling
Stop.
Shepard's my second
That's
favorite
also-
wide receiver.
Yeah, we can also stop with the fan speak mocks about getting Sterling Shepard in the 3rd or 4th round, like when people were drafting
Right.
Eric Rowe in the 5th round last year.
Yeah. Kyle. Or not Kyle, James, second one.
Okay. I think that Hargraves is going to be the draft pick. I think he's fallen, and I think he's going to have a massive horseshoe sticker, whatever, the blue sticker thing they did last year. And Mackenzie Alexander, they're going to hate that kid, and I still say it.
I leave it. Hold on. That's a partial.
I'm confused at what the take is here.
I think he's just ranting.
They love him.
I think he's just
and they hate
ranting.
Alexander.
Okay. I agree that Vernon could be the pick, but I don't think that they would not like Alexander. So it's a half take.
Half a take.
A half take and a half lead. And Alex.
Leave it.
Brian.
Leaving the Hargraves take. I'm leaving both.
Okay. Whatever the take was in itself, Garrett.
Just because it's James.
Fine. Yeah, I'll leave it because Mac is kind of a diva, but not really in an obnoxious way that would bother them.
Kyle.
I'm leaving it because the cornerbacks that I want never come here.
Xavier Rhodes, Desmond Trufant.
Yep. And what's his name last year? The guy who went to Kansas City.
Marcus Peters.
Ooh.
Yeah. Sad times.
My
All right,
number one
guys.
overall player.
All right, guys. Good podcast tonight. We did a lot of material in a longer podcast. And again, as I was saying earlier, we will be back next week, Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. Kyle, you're more than welcome to join us if you want. We'll be doing recap podcasts at the end of each day.
We will have my Colts account on, right?
Yeah, Jeremy might be back. He said he might be able to stop by. It just depends on if he's got time. He's got some cool stuff going on in his own life, but if he's got time, he'll be by. Kyle, you're more than welcome to join us as well.
Thursday and or Saturday are possibilities. I'd love to if I have the time.
Sounds good, man. So I appreciate it. And everybody, thank you for listening to us for 23 episodes before this draft. This is the last Draft Indy podcast until the draft, and we will see you guys next Thursday.
Thanks, everybody.
Much love.
Bye.